Lucy Hicks Anderson was one of the most well-known women in Ventura County during Prohibition. She hosted famously elaborate parties for the richest folks in town, while just across the tracks, she ran a boarding house that provided both liquor and women. And when the people of Ventura found out that she was a trans woman, they challenged her marriage, and she became the first trans person in history to go to court to fight for it. In the small town of Waddy, Kentucky, the Lawsons brought their child to a local doctor. They had a unique situation on their hands. In 1886, Mrs. Lawson had given birth to a baby boy. However, their child soon informed them that she was not a boy, that her name was Lucy, and that she would be wearing a dress to school. Thank you very much. And in a time when this was almost unheard of, the doctor encouraged them to accept Lucy for who she was and raise her as a girl. Lucy left school at 15 and supported herself as a domestic worker. She headed west at age 20 and married her first husband at age 34 to become Mrs. Lucy Hicks. The newlyweds settled in Oxnard, California, a booming farm community in Ventura County, 60 miles north of Los Angeles. Lucy did well for herself in Oxnard, working as a nanny and a cook for wealthy families and catering elaborate parties for the town's elites. She was successful, well-connected, and not afraid to skirt the law. While she was winning contests for her dinner rolls and fruitcakes, she was also running a boarding house as a brothel and selling illegal liquor. These were Prohibition days, mind you. She was arrested twice in the 1920s for possession of intoxicating liquor, but used her social connections to avoid any serious consequences. Once a wealthy banker even bailed her out just so she could still cater his dinner party that evening. Lucy continued to work both uptown and underground until 1945. By this time, she was 59 years old and a fixture in the community. She had recently married her second husband, Reuben Anderson, a retired soldier. When the Navy tracked cases of venereal disease back to Lucy's boarding house, the doctor who examined all of Lucy's girls insisted on examining Lucy as well. That examination revealed her gender history and put her at the center of a scandal that rocked Ventura County. Lucy was charged with falsifying marriage documents and defrauding the government by claiming her husband's GI benefits. The court argued that she wasn't legally married to her husband because in their eyes, she was a man. And of course, marriage was between a man and a woman. Lucy stood her ground and argued that her lived identity was more valid than what was printed on her birth certificate. She said, "I defy any doctor in the world to prove that I am not a woman. I have dressed and acted as just what I am, a woman." Despite Lucy's defiant declaration to the world, the jury found her guilty of impersonation and fraud. Her marriage was declared null and void, and in addition to serving time, she was also sentenced to 10 years probation. What's more, the courts forbid her from wearing women's clothing. She and Reuben served their time and eventually settled in Los Angeles, living quietly out of the public eye. Trans people today are still fighting for the right to survive and be who they are. So when same-sex couples cut their wedding cakes today, may they think of the struggle that still continues and raise a toast to Lucy Hicks Anderson. Lucy's story is just one of the many untold histories of trans pioneers who have lived, loved, and died in this country. We have truly been around.